What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Stream it up over there. You got your Google and Alexa home devices, the Sports Talk app, and video stream up and rolling. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Appreciate you making us part of your starts on this Thirsty Thursday, or a little receive or defer Thursday morning. What do we got on the game plan for us this morning? Well, it was ugly from start to finish last night. Bucks falling to the Cleveland Cavaliers, 135-95. Bucks cold shooting right away at the beginning of the game. They made a little bit of a run at the first to kind of close the gap there. One point it was like 20-2 to begin the game, but no Giannis in the game. Out late scratch due to some shoulder soreness, shoulder contusion. No word really on how long potentially he could be out, but it doesn't sound too serious. Doesn't sound serious. So obviously that had an effect in the game last night. But Chris Middleton, cold shooting, 20 minutes, just 1 of 10 from the field, 2 points. Damian Lillard, 17 points. Not a lot of production from the starters. I mean, you had Crowder in his first game back, playing 19 minutes, and he contributed 15 points. Actually, was 4 of 10 from 3. So 12 of his 15 coming from 3. Bobby Portis, 16 off the bench. Campaign 13, but dug themselves again into a deep hole. Cold start there, and then third quarter, it kind of continued there because Cleveland outscoring Milwaukee 42-26 in that third quarter, kind of putting the cap on everything. So Bucks falling to 28-13 overall, 9-9 road record right now. They're playing 500 ball on the road. And with that loss, they've now dropped to 4 games back from the Boston Celtics for first place in the Eastern Conference. Philadelphia now just 1 back from the Bucks. But Cleveland playing some really good basketball. They've won 6 in a row, 8-2 in their last 10, and they're creeping up in the standings as well. So on the flip side, just across the border there, the Minnesota Timberwolves picked up another win to remain 2 games ahead in the Western Conference. They just defeated the Detroit Pistons last night. So, but hey, at least we got Jay Crowder back. Just wish Giannis would have been able to go and such. But Jay Crowder in his first game back, 19 minutes and putting up 15 points. Good start. Not a whole lot of rust, it looked like, from him last night. So, we got some hoops we'll chat about a little bit later on here. Bucks next game. They've got Detroit on Saturday. Detroit Saturday and Detroit on Monday, all on a road before returning home with a couple of big games next week. Cleveland back-to-back. So Cleveland on a Wednesday and Cleveland on a Friday. A little back-to-back action there. And how well Cleveland's playing right now could make things a little bit interesting in the standings there in the Eastern Conference. But take care of business. Don't overlook Detroit right now. Take care of business in these next 2 games against the Pistons here. Staying with basketball, a little bit more on the local side here. Over at Zorn Arena, you had a doubleheader between you had Blue Gold basketball taking on UW Stout, both for men's and women's. Women's team picking up the big W last night. Men's team falling to Stout. So splitting that, it was actually Menominee. What did I say, Zorn? My apologies. But women's basketball picking up the W, 66-53. And then the men's team picking up or falling to Stout, 83-74. What else do we got on the docket for us here this morning? We'll chat some more football coming up here. Packers, another light practice yesterday. Jair Alexander did not practice in the he was listed as a DNP, and he was in the rehab group when the reporters were at practice yesterday. However, Matt LaFleur and Joe Barry expressing some optimism about his availability come Saturday. Joe Barry yesterday even saying that Jair is further ahead this week than what he was last week. So you'd think that would give you some confidence he's going to be able to go on Saturday. Matt LaFleur saying that today's practice be a little bit more of a typical practice and such. So he's hoping that Joe Bear, or excuse me, that Jair will be able to go out there and do some work. So, but they did say he'll see where he's at for today. So we're going to talk some more green and gold as we get set just a couple of days away from this game between Packers and the 49ers. Elsewhere in the NFL world, Cowboys staying with Mike McCarthy. Cowboys sticking with their head coach. That was announced yesterday. First reported, then Cowboys, Jerry Jones owner, coming out with the statements, holding on to Mike McCarthy. So one less job available for maybe Bill Belichick or somebody to go to there. So there you have it. At least another season, or at least opening up the season with McCarthy over there. So anybody speculating or thinking that that maybe the Cowboys would make a move, or if the Packers got Mike McCarthy fired again, doesn't sound like it's going to happen for this season. So there you have it. Sorry, Cowboys fans, but I don't know. Like is it down to just one team then for Belichick to go to? Like just the Falcons? That's the only. I mean, that's the only one that was reported that he interviewed with, and I feel like I haven't heard of Vrabel interviewing with anybody either at this point in time. But I don't know. Kind of. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say it's not necessarily quiet because you've got these teams announcing who they've interviewed and such, but still not a ton of movement. And I know you still got some teams involved in the postseason and such, and more teams that kind of fall out of it or lose, then maybe potentially you'll get some more movement there. But nonetheless, no new coach heading over to Dallas. To Dallas. So it is a receiver defer Thursday. So again, if you've got any topics at hand for a receiver defer, we'll hit that up at 7:45. But hit me up with some texts. Would love to get your receiver defer questions. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Also, outdoor tidbits with Jake Bulks. If you have any questions, now that we've gotten some colder weather lately, probably a little bit more ice out there for you ice fishermen. But if you have any questions, outdoor related questions that you would like to ask Jake, let us know. Okay. Again, via that texting line. It's the best way to get them so I can get those on over to Jake. But we'll catch up with Jake at 8:30 this morning. Let's get things rolling here. I want to talk a little bit more about what we have been seeing from this from this Packers offense. Yesterday we played the clip from Nick Bosa, and he talked about how Jordan Love's playing within the system, and talked about how Aaron Rodgers maybe not necessarily did, and sometimes how it's better for a quarterback to play within the system. And this year, or even last year, there's been topics about, quote, system quarterbacks. And you hear the phrase system quarterbacks, and then you hear phrases like the quarterbacks playing within the system. It's almost like it feels like it may be a little bit of a nicer way than to call a quarterback a system quarterback. But I also feel like system quarterbacks kind of get a negative label to it when really it's shouldn't, in my opinion, really shouldn't be labeled as a system quarterback. But Adam Stenovich, Packers offensive coordinator, had another quote. I should say another quote, but he also talked about that, how Jordan Love kind of playing within the system. So yesterday, because we had coordinators talking to the media and answering questions. But he was talking about the differences in having Jordan Love, who runs the offense, compared to Aaron Rodgers, who a lot of times the whole audible situation, right? Maybe went a little off script, would read the defense, and then kind of adjust to that. Stanovich, this was the quote from him. This is according to Ryan Wood, who covers Packers, PackersNews.com. There definitely is a value to that because half the time, when you get done with the drive, sometimes in past years, you'd just be trying to figure out what play was called. So now we know what was supposed to happen. But with Aaron, he would see stuff and make checks and all that you didn't know exactly what was happening at the time. But with this, yeah, we're all kind of on the same page and going. Not to say that that way wasn't good because we had great results with it. But this is nice because at least you can kind of build an offense around it. Build plays off of plays. As the game progressed, hey, we did this. Now we're going to do this. Now we're going to go do this. I think our communication on the sideline has been better just from that aspect of being able to, as the game progresses, have plays off of plays and things like that. Yeah, that is a huge advantage for us this year. It's an interesting topic that I've been honestly thinking about the last couple days and trying to honestly trying to come up with like how I want to phrase all this because you think about some of these court like Brock Purdy is probably in a similar position, right? There was a debate this year about Brock Purdy, system quarterback. Why is that got to be negative? I mean, he's putting up great numbers. His team is the first seed in the NFC, most popular pick, top two most popular pick to go to the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. Them and the Ravens. And you got, that to me too is going to be interesting to kind of follow. I think Jordan Love's career as he gets, more years under his belt, longer he stays in. Do these quarterbacks, these veteran quarterbacks, the longer they stay in the league, do they start to, I don't know, kind of like since their knowledge gets bigger, their knowledge gets, a little bit deeper, do they start to maybe do that off script sort of stuff and be like, no, they get a little bit more comfortable. They want to do it this way. They feel like maybe they know a little bit more what's going on. You know what I'm trying to get at? Like I've been thinking about this and trying to compare them to like offensive coordinators and because I feel like for an offensive coordinator, these offensive coordinators who get head coaching jobs and depending on the situations they go into, it's really interesting to see how these different quarterbacks, the like veteran quarterbacks and younger quarterbacks, how their careers paired up with like offensive coordinators have gone through years. So like Peyton Manning, for example, like I was going through quarterbacks and some of these offensive play callers that ended up getting head coaching jobs and maybe they didn't work out and kind of looking at like the quarterbacks they were paired up with. So like Peyton Manning, for instance, Peyton Manning, probably one of the smartest quarterbacks out there, right? Similar in ways of Aaron Rodgers, diagnosing the defense and that sort of stuff. The offensive coordinator or a coach that he endorsed a lot at the end of his career was Adam Gase. Adam Gase got 2 runs as a head coach. Adam Gase isn't in the NFL anymore. Didn't succeed as a head coach. And you kind of wonder, it's like, okay, well, did Peyton Manning make Adam Gase look a little bit better? Then, mentioned it the other day. Byron Leftwich was a hot head coaching candidate just a couple years ago because he was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. And now you've got, finally we're getting quote unquote Matt LaFleur's offense. It's a complete different change. You've got a quarterback playing within the quote system. And I don't know if this is going to be something to kind of watch in the future. But it's an interesting parallel to see these quarterbacks who are playing within a system And then you got quarterbacks that are playing off script. And it's not to say veteran quarterbacks, don't, as soon as they get a few years under their belt, they don't play within the system. Because I feel like Drew Brees played within Sean Payton's system. I feel like Patrick Mahomes still plays under Andy Reid's system, play calls and that. But you get some of these quarterbacks that maybe just like an Aaron Rodgers. Again, great Hall of Fame quarterback. Talent was there. One of my favorite players on the field. But you kind of just wonder at a certain point in time, does it get where, you know, they get a little bit too egoish, if you know what I mean. A little too smart for the room, sort of thing. Like, and again, you kind of look at the offensive coordinator, like Nathaniel Hackett. Do we really know if he's a good offensive coordinator or coach, or because it's the Aaron Rodgers effect over there. So I don't know, I think it's an interesting thing to hear. You got coaches admitting this. Now I don't know if Matt LaFleur would ever come out and say stuff like what Adam Stenavich kind of alluded to. I don't feel like LaFleur would do that. But you got Bosa saying that. I mean, that's a guy on an opposing team kind of knowing that. We see it every single week. We're not as smart as those people out there. Then you got Stenavich kind of saying the same thing. And it'll be just, a lot of the talk has been with Jordan Love's success this season. Could we see more teams, or are we ever going to see more teams kind of employ the Packers way, if you will, draft and develop, draft a quarterback and sit them instead of playing them all the time, sort of thing. But it'll be curious to see if there's more talk about quarterbacks playing within in systems. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to get at a little bit? I think it's very interesting to see the parallels. And I know I've mentioned this article before, but I would love for Rob Domofsky, who we had on at the beginning of the year, I would love for Rob Domofsky to do a follow-up article, because in September, and he talked about this when we had him on, and he was working on it at that time. But how the Packers offense will change from Rodgers to Jordan Love, and a lot of statistics and advanced statistics and that sort of stuff in there. And a lot of it was, middle of the field, taking advantage of that. I would love to see a follow-up to that, just to see how different the offenses looked. And LaFleur's young start to his career, the beginning portion of his career, it's, he comes in when he got the job, 1 year experience of calling plays in Tennessee. And, he comes into Green Bay, he comes into a situation, Aaron Rodgers is there, which I think is a benefit for a very young head coach, maybe a little bit of an inexperienced play caller, to have somebody like Aaron Rodgers, maybe to grow with. Kind of get your feet wet, if you will, a little bit as a head coach. And I know for some, it's like, well, if you're going to get a head coach, you probably shouldn't have a grace period. And I mean, the guy had instant success right away. And a lot of that was probably due to Aaron Rodgers. But I also feel like LaFleur has grown, gotten more comfortable. I think Rodgers helped with that. And then when they made the move to move on from Rodgers, to move on and to Jordan Love, not only was Jordan Love ready to take the reins as quarterback for this team, and as weird as it sounds, but maybe Matt LaFleur was ready to really kind of, all right, take the next step in his play calling career, take the next step in his head coaching career. Kind of had the crutch of a Rodgers running your offense, being your starting quarterback. But I think maybe it got at that point, not only was Love ready to take the reins, I think Matt LaFleur maybe was ready to take the reins a little bit more too, as that main man on the offensive side. So let's talk a little bit more football, all right? Let's take that first break. Join the convo with us. Hit us up with some texts, tweets, all that good stuff. Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Hey, temperatures might be warming up a little bit later on in the next few days, it sounds like. Don't matter though when it comes to Wisconsin because one of the many great things about our state is that we've got the grills ready to go 24/7. And we're always looking up to fire up some brats and steaks and maybe even for a little tailgating party on Saturday, right? Any day, though, any day is a perfect day to make a visit to Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire, whether you're looking for some steaks, maybe some burgers, brats, snack sticks, jerky. Those snack sticks and jerky over there, they've got so many different flavor options. You'll never run out of different ones to try. Plus, they've got freeze dried candy over there. Our favorite is the guava. But if you're hungry for the best cuts in town, best flavor in town, maybe you want to grab some stuff to put on the grill for the games this weekend, head on over to Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire on the west side of Eau Claire and grab some freeze dried candy and some snacks for the kiddos and for yourself over there too. So, a couple of texts to get to here. This one's from Andy. Looks like Andy saying interesting point about how Matt LaFleur potentially was ready to take the reins over from the offensive side of things. I never thought of it that way. I honestly, I could be completely off on that. It was just something I was thinking about a little bit more in terms of everybody talking about how the offense has grown and or this year, and now we're finally doing a Matt LaFleur style of offense, and I go back to when Rodgers was traded, and in a quote from a release that Matt LaFleur had, and he said, a lot of people are thankful for Aaron Rodgers, referring to, I'm paraphrasing, but referring to jobs. A lot of people have had success because of Aaron Rodgers, including himself and such. And I think it was, probably a relationship for the first couple of years that was benefiting both a little bit, but also kind of, I think, helping prepare Matt LaFleur for this moment too. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little over dramatic with it, but another text here from Benjamin. Benjamin saying, "How much do you think the fact that Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur know each other so much and they run similar styles of offense is any team in a particular advantage because they know each other the most?" I think that's what. Um. Yeah, they run similar offenses, very very similar. We know LaFleur grew up under Shanahan, is a Shanahan disciple. And I think it's a benefit for both teams that, when they practice, the defense is going up against their offense. It's going to be some similar stuff in there. It's not 100% probably the exact same, but there's going to be a lot of similarities and there's going to be a lot of similar concepts and such. And it'll be interesting to see if one of these coaches maybe has a new wrinkle, something up their sleeve, something special for this game. And I'm sure both defenses are going to recognize maybe some of the stuff that they would see normally in a practice and such. But you know, I've been seeing some of that stuff on the internet and Twitter and Facebook and social media too about these offenses are running the same stuff, and is there an advantage to one or the other? Shanahan, does he have the advantage because he was LaFleur's coach or LaFleur's boss and LaFleur worked under him and all that sort of stuff. And maybe there's a little bit to it, but sometimes I think that does get a little over dramatized and a little, maybe a little too, th- too overhyped, if you know what I mean. I mean, these are definitely, when you look at these two offenses between the 49ers and the Packers, yeah, they run a lot of the same stuff, but 49ers, when you look at some of their skill position players, a little bit more veteran based compared to the Packers, right? I mean, McCaffrey and Aaron Jones, same draft class, 2017. But after that, I mean, you got Debo Samuel, who's been around for a little bit, Brandon Ayuk, who's been around for a few years, George Kittle. You got those veterans. Yes, Brock Purdy's in his second year, younger up there too. But, in terms of skill position players, 49ers got a little bit more veteran experience in there compared to Green Bay and such. But yeah, it'll be. I think the interesting part in this matchup, it will be, are we gonna see something like a new wrinkle? And I don't think you're not gonna see a completely different playbook or anything like that. I mean, I can't imagine that, but it'll be interesting to see if the offenses maybe kinda come out with a new wrinkle here and there. Maybe I would imagine they're gonna put some stuff out there that hasn't been on film, maybe a couple plays or something like that, or adjusting certain plays that, has been on film this year, but hey, if we show this, we're actually going to do this and try to catch them off guard. Because if we line up this way, they're going to think we're going to do this or that. We're going to do actually option C or the third option here and try to catch them off guard that way. Because we know both of these offenses like to use a lot of misdirection, like to use a lot of motion, like to line up in certain formations where multiple plays can come out of that formation. That's a staple of this style of offense. That's why I feel like the defense that's going to be the most disciplined, the defense that's going to have the best communication, that might be the deciding point. And for a lot of people, and myself included, and probably 11 out of 10 people would say that's going to be the 49ers defense. I think a big advantage for that 49ers defense is a guy that maybe doesn't get talked enough about, but is one of the best inside linebackers in the game, and that's Fred Warner. The play caller up there, defensive guy, defensive play caller. He is, I think, so key to that 49ers defense. Not only is he a athletic freak, one of the best inside linebackers in the game, he's all over the field. And this year, he's Pro Football Focus. If you're a Pro Football Focus believer, he's Pro Football Focus's highest graded linebacker. And he's actually really good in coverage, too. He's one of the best coverage linebackers out there. I was looking up some of his numbers last night. He is limiting pass catchers to under 10 yards per reception. And his counterpart over there, Greenlaw, again, another great coverage linebacker, 8.3 yards per catch. And these guys can also get after the quarterback. They can pressure the quarterback. And when you look at this 49ers defense as a unit overall, they're holding opposing quarterbacks to 5.9 yards per pass attempt. That's the fifth lowest rate in the regular season. And these two linebackers are just all over the field. They can do a bunch of different things. So if I'm Jordan, if I'm Love, there's going to be a lot of guys that you want to pay attention to where they're going to be lined up on the defensive side. Fred Warner's got to be one of your first looks. Where's 54 at? Where's he going to be? But to be able, if he can figure out, diagnose what they're going to kind of do in that, that's going to make things a whole lot easier on that offense side, but that's a tough task to do. There's a lot of playmakers on this 49ers defense. But Fred Warner is the thing that makes that thing go. He is the straw, if you will, that stirs the drink on the defensive side. He's going to be the guy that could potentially limit Aaron Jones, right? Aaron Jones, big key to this game. If he can have success running the football, but Fred Warner can instantly change that. He's a guy that can change or wreck an offense. So, a lot of talk about both of these offenses heading into this game. A lot of talk about both these offenses. Packers offense, incredibly hot, playing really well. Jordan Love, playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Brock Purdy was talked as an MVP candidate. He's probably going to get some votes. Maybe he won't win it, but he'll probably get some votes or or some talk about maybe not getting votes, but he was top 5 odds-on favorite. Probably going to be Lamar, throw in Josh Allen, and even his teammate Christian McCaffrey over there. So a lot of the hype heading into this game is both of these offenses, and rightfully so. But it's going to be the defense that plays the best, in my opinion. And when you look at it on paper, it's easily the 49ers right now. But the Packers, can they come up with something? Can they come up with something to slow down, to confuse? I think that's got to be the key, in my opinion, for this Packers defense. Can they do something to confuse this 49ers offense? Can they come out in something that'll just kind of catch them off guard a little bit? Do you trust Joe Barry to do that? That might be the other question on there, and I don't know too many people who probably would trust Joe Barry at that point in time to do something like that. But we talk about, these other instances in history. When we talk about some of these games, you hear about these defenses. They went in with this mindset to stop this and this, or they completely caught the guard, or caught off guard, or caught that offense off guard, and they were never able to rebound and that sort of stuff. Knowing that the Packers have a disadvantage on defense, can they come out with something that will just kind of throw the 49ers for a loop a little bit? Or are they just going to do what they normally do? I think Joe Barry and that Packers team's got to come out with something that's going to catch the 49ers off guard. Got to add something into it. Another wrinkle. Do they put more pressure? Do they try to put more pressure on Brock Purdy and such? But it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be decided by which defense is going to play better. And right now, it's hard not to pick the 49ers. I know there's some talk about rust. When you go back to the final week of the regular season, a lot of those 49er guys sat out that final week. Brock Purdy and such. Christian McCaffrey was dealing with a calf issue. They've had a couple weeks off. Is there going to be a rust factor? We don't know if there's going to be a rust factor until they actually go out on the field and start playing. We don't know if that's going to be the case. Sometimes we've seen it. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes teams just come out there full steam, healthy, anxious to hit somebody, going full speed, ready to roll. Some just come out a little slow, a little lackadaisical, and never can kind of rebound, or maybe they dig themselves into a bigger hole where they just can't jump out of it. But if the 49ers do come out with a little bit of rust, Packers better jump on that thing right away. They better jump out right away and take advantage of that. Don't let them knock off that rust. Don't just let them hang around. If they, in that first quarter, you can tell they're maybe just a step too slow, or things aren't just clicking timing-wise, a little off because they haven't been out on the field together for a couple weeks, that's when I want to see Green Bay's offense get a little bit more aggressive, take advantage of that thing, defensively, be a little aggressive too. Maybe you're bringing a little bit more pressure on that. But if they do come out there, and it's clearly evident that they're trying to knock off a little bit of that 2-week gap there, up the ante and be a little bit more aggressive. Gotta take a quick break. We'll be back to finish up the second hour. We got some hoops chat to come up. Bucks falling last night. No Giannis. Should we be concerned? New year, but still those same aches and pains. Do something about it this time. Make your appointment with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and start living that pain-free and healthy life. That way, when summer rolls around, you will be able to enjoy those outdoor activities pain-free. Get started now by visiting cvosm.com to schedule your appointment. The entire team at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine is dedicated to providing you with the care that you need to get back to living your life pain-free. Chris is asking on the texting line here, do you think with Darnell Savage, he's coming back next year after Matt LaFleur praised him about his communication on the defense, especially since a few weeks ago, that was a big criticism from Matt LaFleur. Then all of a sudden, Savage comes back and the defense looked, or the secondary looks a little bit better, and Matt LaFleur comes out and praises Savage's communication skills. Maybe I kind of thought about that the other day. I mean, they need some safety help. They went into this season. That was the biggest training camp battle, right? That was we didn't know how that was all going to play. We knew Savage was going to get one of the starting spots, but we didn't know if it was going to be Ford, if it was going to be Owens. They drafted Anthony Johnson Jr., who's getting snaps along with Owens out there. Possibly. I know there's still some talk could Savage is his best role as a nickel corner. It might just come down, not the cop out on the answer or anything like that. It might just come down to the dollars. How much is Savage going to get? How much is he worth? What's the open market going to say? But I wouldn't be, and they may look at it from a standpoint too. It's like, because Owens is going to be a free agent, Ford's going to be a free agent, Savage is going to be a free agent. They may look at that as like, okay, we want to bring in at least one of those guys back to have a little bit of some veteran depth over there, and then maybe look to the draft to shore up that position a little bit more. But I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Savage back. He's got his weaknesses, like a lot of players, if not a lot of, almost every single player in the league there. But if it was for, I don't know, maybe a couple years, I mean, I don't think he's going to be like getting highest paid safety money or anything like that. And you do have to factor in too, guy's been kind of banged up here or there. But if he means that much to defense in terms of communication and such, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back for maybe a couple of years after that. But still, I think that's going to be one of the biggest positions of need to address when it comes to draft, free agency, whatever the case may be. This offseason, I think, is going to be a little bit more interesting in the fact that, you've got this team not only to the postseason, they won a postseason game. We know Jordan Love's probably going to get top 5 money, whether it's this offseason. I think is it May he can sign a new contract. You got these young rookie receivers, second-year receivers on their rookie deals. The offseason, I'll be curious to see what the approach is going to be this offseason for this team. Has it changed because of the recent success that they've had? Does it change? Like, oh, okay. Maybe we'll be a little bit more aggressive, maybe similar to like 2019 when they brought in Zadarius and Preston and Adrian and Billy Turner. Maybe not to that level. But I'll be curious to see if that mindset, that approach changes a little bit because, one, they know that Love's going to get more money. Maybe they've got Aaron Jones for another year. They've got their rookie receivers, second-year guys on rookie deals, tight ends as well. Their right tackles on a rookie deal. Maybe their future left tackles also on a rookie deal. Do they maybe become a little bit more aggressive in the offseason? But we got plenty of time to talk about that when we get to that point in time. We still got another playoff game to get to and to kind of focus. But that's something I definitely going to be interested in to see if does that mindset perhaps change a little bit. Do they become a little not super aggressive, but maybe a little bit more aggressive in the offseason, considering the amount of success they've had as of late and the growth that we have seen from this offense. So, all right, we'll get to some more football talk a little bit later on here. Don't forget, I want your receive or defer questions. If you can hit me up with some, if you got any, let me know. We'll get to that at about 7:45 this morning. Also, if you have any outdoor tidbit questions for Mr. Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden, we'll catch up with him at 8:30. Best way to get those, hit me up with that text. It's the easiest and quickest way. That way I can get them on over to Jake a little bit later on. Also, we're going to talk some hoops. Bucks, ugly from start to finish last night. Bucks falling to the Cleveland Cavaliers 135-95. No Giannis in the game. Late scratch from the lineup last night. We'll talk about that, get an update on that situation. However, Jay Crowder did return to the lineup. And, I mean, we were talking a little bit about rust. The guy didn't look like he had a whole lot of rust on him. 19 minutes coming off the bench, but 15 points for him, 4 of 10 from 3. So, positive there, but ugly game last night. Ugly game last night. They got a couple games against Detroit before they welcome Cleveland for 2 games next week in Milwaukee. So, we'll talk a little Bucks coming up later on and kind of look at where everything's at. We're less than a month away from the trade deadline. What has the rumor been? Has there been any rumors surrounding the Bucks? Seems like it's kind of been quiet. Siakam got traded to the Pacers yesterday officially. They're kind of going for it, and there's, does that push the needle for the Bucks, knowing they've struggled against the Pacers? Does that push the needle for them to make some moves? Looking at how the Celtics are, they're 4 games back right now. Does that kind of maybe make John Horst go, all right, we got to kind of match some of that? We're going to make a move. One ESPN writer feels like Milwaukee could be a, quote, potential aggressive shopper. We'll tell you who that is and maybe some ideas out there coming up in just a little bit, just past the 7 o'clock hour. But do you think the Bucks have to be a quote, aggressive trade deadline shopper? Interesting. A couple more texts to get to here on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. When we're talking a little green and gold. Eric saying, I wouldn't mind Savage back next year, but you're right. They need to definitely focus on that position, whether it's in free agency or the draft. I've seen some mock drafts already mocking the Packers getting a safety in the draft. I've kind of been looking at those mock drafts too. And I know, I mean, this is January. We got a couple more months. I tend to pay a little bit more attention to the mock drafts at least after the combine and such. And plus, we don't know the full on order yet at this point in time. But yeah, I've seen a couple of those. I think the mock drafts that are out there right now, the most, for those who are doing it, it really picks up into gear after the Super Bowl. But for those who are doing it, I think the majority have the Packers either getting a tackle or a safety in the first round. Tackle, I think, has probably been the most popular one, but you're starting to see safety a little bit more. Another texter here talking about the two offenses going back and forth here, saying this is such an intriguing matchup because you've got a little bit more experience with the 49ers, yet they run a lot of similar stuff. Does that experience benefit them, or does that Packers youth on offense where they don't, quote, give a rip, actually benefit them more? You're right, on the defensive side, 49ers have a clear advantage. I feel like the only way that the Packers defense can match the intensity and the talent of the 49ers defense is if the 49ers come out rusty. All right, shot clock's going to cut me off here. We'll get back to some more football talk, but keep your thoughts coming. Let's talk some hoops coming up here in just a little bit. How aggressive should the Bucks be at that NBA trade deadline. How can they even be? You got to move some pieces to be aggressive, right? Let's hit it up. Let's chat about it. Coming up after these quick news updates. Second hour kicking off on this Thursday morning. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. We're going to talk some hoops coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Bucks falling last night to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Had the return of Jay Crowder, but Giannis a late scratch due to a shoulder injury. Not quite sure how long. That potentially could be out. Hopefully not too long, but I know Adrian Griffin said before the game that didn't seem like it would be that serious. So, but we'll keep you posted on that. Trade deadline coming up in less than a month, though. But after that ugly game last night, should the Bucks be a little bit more aggressive on the trade deadline? They're 4 games back from the Celtics for first place. Philadelphia is now just 1 game behind the Bucks for second place in the Eastern Conference. Well, one ESPN writer thinks that the Bucks are going to be aggressive at the trade deadline. Tell you about that coming up here in just a second. We'll get back to some more football talk a little bit later on as we get set for Packers and 49ers on Saturday nights. Packers sound like they'll do a little bit more of a up-tempo practice day after having I don't want to say walkthrough practice yesterday, but still not really any reps. Jair Alexander did not practice, although Matt LaFleur and Joe Barry both saying that or both expressing optimism that Jair would be ready to go this weekend on Saturday. So we'll get back to that chat coming up a little bit later on. Let's do some sports nuggets for this morning here. 1886, the Hockey Association was formed in England. This date is the birthday of modern field hockey. 1951, the NFL passed a rule that said that a tackle, guard, or center was not eligible to catch a forward pass. Let's go. Willie O'Ree made his NHL debut with the Boston Bruins in 1958. He was the first African-American player to enter the league. 1967, the NHL held the All-Star Game at mid-season for the first time. 1969, Ted Williams was appointed manager of the Washington Senators. 1976 first, the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Dallas Cowboys 21-17. 1985, Mary Decker broke a world indoor record when she ran the women's 2,000-meter race in just 5 minutes and 34.2 seconds. 1996, baseball owners unanimously approved interleague play for 1997. And in 1998, the Boston Celtics retired Robert Parrish's 00, the Chief, Robert Parrish. Those are just some of your sports nuggets for this morning. Bucks wise, so ugly game last night from start to finish. Cavaliers are playing some really good hoops right now, 6 wins in a row. Bucks have 2 more games against the Cavs next week, all in Milwaukee. But as we approach this trade deadline coming up beginning of February, the question is, should the Bucks make a move? Maybe the other question in this whole thing should be, can the Bucks even make a move at this point in time? Because you look at their assets that they have, you look at the money they have available, can they even do anything? Well, one ESPN writer, NBA analyst, thinks that the Bucks could be, quote, potential aggressive shoppers. In the latest episode of the Hoop Collective podcast, ESPN NBA writer Tim Bontemps picked Milwaukee as one of the aggressive shoppers at this year's trade deadline. Said, quote, I would suspect the Bucks will try to do stuff. John Horst has typically been really aggressive in season trying to make trades. I know they have limited trade assets. However, one asset that they do have is Portland's 2024 second-round pick, which is a pretty juicy second-round pick. They've got some expiring money to float around, or some money to float around. I don't know if they'll get anything done given the situation they are in, but I would suspect that they will explore stuff just based off of John Horst's history. And he's right. with John Horst's history, you look at him during his time as general manager with the Milwaukee Bucks. The guy hasn't been afraid to make moves. He has not. He has not really sat on his hands a lot, but this will be a season that'll be interesting to see if he does make some moves, because can he make some moves? Will he be able to trade off some of these quote assets? And who are those assets? I mean, okay, it's a second round pick. All right. But as we've seen in the NBA too, teams are willing to shell off first round picks. I mean, what's the number that the Oklahoma City Thunder have right now? Like 55 first round picks in the next 7 years or something like that. It's a crazy number. So, I mean, Milwaukee is definitely shorthanded in their trade chips. And given their cap situation too, they might be limited in terms of the buyout market. Now, I read one rumor because, as we get a little closer to the trade deadline, you also have the buyout market. These players that get traded maybe to these veteran players that get traded to non-contenders, then they get bought out, they hit the free agency market. The Bucks have done that too in the past. And one name that was floated out there as a potential target for the Bucks, PJ Tucker. That's according to Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports. According to Fisher, the Washington Wizards are viewed as a potential trade destination for Tucker, who would likely be bought out if he is sent to the Wizards. In that scenario, the Suns and the Bucks would be among the teams expected to pursue the 38-year-old on the buyout market. So, I mean, a reunion potentially with PJ Tucker. We know defense, right? We want to see an improvement on defense. But is PJ Tucker that answer? 38 years old right now. Has he still got enough left in the tank to come off the bench and be a defensive guy? Another name potentially being floated out there, because we've talked about backcourt help, backcourt defensive help for the Bucks. And it could be from the New York Knicks. According to the Athletic's Fred Katz, the Knicks are currently fielding offers for their guard, Quentin Grimes. Now, Grimes is a guy that is known for his defensive play. He's a bigger guard too, 6'5". He's versatile. I mean, when you play guard position 6'5", you can play a little out on the wing too. But considering their defensive issues out on the perimeter right now, Grimes might be a guy that could fit really well for the Bucks. Coming off the bench. He's a career 8 points, a little over 8 points per game. He's not going to get you a ton of offensive production, but it's that defense. It's that defense that he could provide out on the perimeter. And you're looking at the money. He's making $2.4 million this year. So financially, I would think the Bucks would be able to figure that out. But again, his financial numbers might make him a little bit more attractive to other teams. So the price to acquire him also might be a little bit higher. If it were me, though, if I'm John Horst in that position, I'm at least picking up the phone and talking to the Knicks and kind of saying, what's it going to cost? What would it cost to bring in a guy like Grimes? Because I think it's not necessarily the offense that they're struggling. And I know last night they struggled offensively. Chris Middleton was cold, capital C cold last night. 1 of 10. And you can't have those type of performances when Giannis is out of the game. If Giannis is missing time, Chris Middleton's gotta be that second option. But if Damian Lillard's still in there, Chris Middleton's got to step up. And let's call it. He didn't step up last night. He had an off night. And especially when you have Giannis out of that lineup, it makes it a little bit more important too that your defensive game better be on par. Bucks got to figure this out with their defense. Maybe Grimes is that guy. Honestly, no offense to a PJ Tucker, I might prefer Grimes a little bit more. I think they need a little bit more perimeter defense than maybe, down low, wing, that sort of thing. Jay Crowder coming back, I think helps with that wing defense, but I wouldn't mind making a move for Grimes. Now, what would they give up? I don't think they would move on from Andre Jackson Jr. I could be wrong, but would they move on from Marjan Beauchamp? What, like one of those couple youngsters over there potentially? Maybe. We'll see. I feel like the Bucks are going to try to make a move. I feel like they're going to at least make some phone calls, try to manipulate their cap situation, try to manipulate some stuff to make that move. It's just it's going to be really tough for Horst to get it done. I wouldn't expect a major move. I mean, the major move was already made. It was Damian Lillard. That move was already made. But maybe a small move to improve their defense, not completely out of the realm. He's going to try to be creative and potentially get something done here. But for the most part, it's kind of been quiet in terms of the rumor department surrounding the Milwaukee Bucks. And maybe that picks up here as we get a little bit closer to that trade deadline. All right, let's take a quick break. Coming up, we'll get back to some more good stuff. Don't forget, receive or defer. Send those questions on over too. It's that time of year where we may be stuck indoors for a bit, so you need to make sure that your pantries and your fridge and your freezers are fully stocked. How do you do that while also saving some money? Easy, just shop at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Whether you're stocking the pantry with soups or dried goods or loading up the deep freezer with pizzas and frozen foods, Hy-Vee has the best selection to help keep you stocked during these winter months. Or if you just need a quick bite to eat, grab something from the food court or deli area. And with their Hy-Vee perks, you'll save money at the register and the gas pump. Stock up on your favorite grocery items and save some money with Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. A couple texts here. Somebody saying Chris Middleton is capital O old. Well, to be fair, I mean, if we're just using age, Lopez and Damian Lillard are older than him, but those two are also playing better than Chris Middleton. So, does Pat C have any trade value from Chad? I saw some because if you go like do a search, I was looking some stuff up last night, some possible trade scenarios and that. To move on from Pat, a lot of these scenarios you'd have to sweeten it with some trade, with some draft picks, excuse me, because of the salary situation, especially with with Pat C's salary and his contract over there. So they would have to add some other sweeteners, if you will, to that. Some draft picks. So Spencer, good morning, Dan. I'd like to know the difference in dropped balls between earlier in the season and now. To me, it seems like when Love delivers a catchable ball, wide receivers and tight ends, they all seem to be catching it better now than what they did earlier in the season. Is that something you noticed too, or am I crazy? I don't think you're crazy. I think that's a good point. It's an interesting point. I mean, I'd like to. That's something good too. I'd like to know those numbers, how they've improved from maybe like halfway through the season. I'd like to know that. Now, I know the Chiefs rank as the team with the highest drop rate. Let me see if I can bring this up here. So, okay, so the Chiefs had 44 drops. Green Bay 29. But you're right, because I'd like to know if we can break that down almost week by week to see where that improvement is. But just based off of the eye test, I would I would think that it's gotten better. I'm gonna see maybe during the break if I can kind of find somewhere where I can do it week by week and that sort of thing. So, but no, I don't think you're crazy at all, Spencer. I think that's an interesting point. I mean, especially because it seems like, I mean, we could probably picture some of these throws in that Cowboys game, since that's the most recent one. Some of those throws by Jordan Love, tight coverage, whether it was the Dontavian Wicks touchdown or, the Romeo Dobbs touchdown over there. I mean, he was hitting those. But, and then Christian Watson, the guy who I think a lot of people think of in terms of, drop passes before he got hurt. I mean, he was doing a lot better. He was improving in that area as well. So I'll see what I can do during some of the breaks here, Spencer, to find that out. A couple more texts coming at here as well. I would love to see the Bucks be aggressive at the trade deadline, but like what you mentioned, I don't think they have enough to make a big move. I'm hoping with Jay Crowder coming back into the lineup that he can provide that defensive spark for this team. Another text here. I wouldn't mind bringing back PJ Tucker. I know he's up there in age at 38, but maybe just his intensity and his mindset could be what this Bucks team needs for the defensive side. Another text here with the Bucks trade deadline. This one is from Jake. Jake saying that I wouldn't expect the Bucks to make any moves because of the restrictions that they had. They've already made their one move with Damian Lillard. They got to ride or die by that trade. And finally, Alex with another text here saying, I think the Bucks will make a small move at the trade deadline. Nothing major at this point because they don't have anybody that they can just trade straight up. Would love to see a couple of moves to improve their defense, but I think it'll just be maybe one minor one. I think it's just going to be one minor one too, to be honest. Maybe we'll be surprised. I mean, Horst has surprised us a few other times with some of the moves, with some of the trades and such, but I I just think they're kind of tight right now. And they've traded a bunch of picks already. I mean, what their next one is 2027 for first round pick? And remember, the NBA has these weird rules too where you can only trade a certain amount of picks per year. Like you can't trade it this year's pick because you did, the 2 years ahead of that. I mean, it kind of gets confusing in that. And when you've got teams trading picks from like 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road here, you kind of lose track of everything. That's why Oklahoma City's got like how many flipping first round picks, and they're the number 2 team in the Western Conference right now. So they've got a lot of assets that they can trade. So, but maybe we'll get some more rumors as we get a little bit closer. Doesn't necessarily mean that a move will be made, that a trade will be made at that point in time, but I think they're looking at that market for some perimeter defense at this point in time. Somebody that can go out there and maybe relieve Malik Beasley. I don't know if it's necessarily a starter. Maybe Malik Beasley goes to the bench because they want to have a defensive guy out there on the perimeter. Maybe, but that would be my number one need right now. All right, we've got a couple more football messages to get to here. This one, no name to this text. Don't forget, put your names on your text if you don't mind, or give me a nickname so I can give you some cred when we read your text over here. So this texter saying, I think the biggest key to this Packers and 49ers game is going to be the offensive line for the Packers. Packers offensive line is playing a lot better the last month or so of the season. Looks like they've got their 2 tackles of the future. I think if that offensive line can protect Jordan Love and open up holes for Aaron Jones, Packers have a shot at winning this game. No doubt. I mean, when you look at the offensive line, kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday when we did our, top 10 most important Packers people and such, and you could probably pick any offensive lineman if you want because you look at the defensive front for this 49ers team, and, I mean, they're good. They got some studs up there. They got some horses up there, Bosa, Chase Young, et cetera, et cetera. But you're right. I mean, the Packers offensive line has been playing a lot better as of late. Maybe answered some questions. Zach Tom has maybe been their best offensive lineman so far this year. I mean, he had himself a really good game against the Cowboys, kind of neutralizing Micah Parsons whenever they were matched up. He has done a fantastic job over there. Rasheed Walker has gotten better. I mean, I know there was some back and forth. He was in when we were in preseason and training camp, he was getting reps. Him and Yash were going back and forth with those left tackle snaps, whether they were the ones or the twos, depending on if Bakhtiari was practicing or not. So they obviously saw something in preseason training camp to be like, okay, well, let's get this guy a little bit more work. And then lo and behold, he started getting the reps. Then him and Yash in the regular season going back and forth, but it's really turned now to where it's Walker's spot over there at left tackle. Whether he's the future long-term one, we'll see how they approach that when we get to the offseason and the draft right now. But if they view that he is the long-term guy over there, and if you, again, like Pro Football Focus numbers, he's been doing pretty decent over there. But if he is that long-term guy over there, that maybe kind of takes away a big-time need in the early parts of the draft when you look at tackle. I still think they need some more depth there because I think Yash is probably gone after this year. So they'd still have to address the tackle depth there. But no, looking at this game, I mean, yeah, I think you can honestly make the case almost every single game. It's going to be one in the trenches for as much as the NFL has changed over the years, whether it's a high flying offense, passing offense, or these defensive, secondaries, the Legion of Boom, back a while ago with Seattle. it's still up front with a lot of these games, whether it's the offensive line or the defensive line. But I feel like the 49ers are going to try to be aggressive and try to get after Jordan Love, really try to focus on stopping the run with Aaron Jones. I know, was it Bosa also said in his little chat with the media the other day that to kind of slow them down, that they got to be aggressive with their secondary going up against their wide receivers, not let them be open or get open, and really trying to stop the run on Aaron Jones, and maybe trying to put a little bit more of the pressure on Jordan Love's shoulders to go out there and win the game. That's kind of the vibe I got from Bosa a little bit. Another texter here saying, talking about the Packers and 49ers game coming up on Saturday. Do you feel like if Aaron Jones rushes for over 100 yards, the Packers would win this game? Maybe that's a receiver defer. I might save that one for receiver defer. So we'll get to that one in like 10 minutes. So I'll say receiver defer. If Aaron Jones rushes for over 100 yards, do the Packers win this game? You look at the last 4 games, is it? Yeah. 3 games, 4 games. Maybe some parallels into that. I'll save that one. Nick with the text here saying, talking about system quarterbacks, it's interesting that system quarterbacks have been such a topic of conversation for so many people this year. And now we've got a game between the Packers and the 49ers where a lot of people would say these are 2 quarterbacks playing within the system. Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about that in the first hour. I don't know if that's what you're referring to a little bit there, Nick. But Brock Purdy was kind of getting knocked from a lot of people because he's quote termed a system quarterback, and you got it's interesting. The I don't feel like system quarterback should necessarily be a negative thing. Now, some people will knock Tom Brady because he was a game manager, system quarterback for a lot. Some will. I mean that's their own opinion. That's fine, whatever. But because if you have a quarterback that plays within the system, or you have a game manager or something like that, you can win in ball games. Does it really matter at that point? Like, Jordan Love's going to get paid, if whether he's a quarterback playing within the system, whether he's a system quarterback or whatever, he's going to get paid like a top 5 quarterback. I don't care if they are. If my team's winning, be a system quarterback for all I care. I just care about the W's. I care about the wins. But no, I was looking at these quarterback matchups. It's kind of weird when you look at it from compare it to the NFC and the AFC. AFC, you've got, 3 guys. 2 of the 3 have won MVPs. Maybe one's going to win it. I don't think he will. I'm talking about Josh Allen. But you look at the AFC quarterbacks. It's Lamar Jackson versus CJ Stroud. It's Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Big name quarterbacks, right? CJ Stroud's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Lamar Jackson might win his second MVP. Patrick Mahomes already has a couple. Josh Allen's another guy getting talked about potentially winning MVP. Then you look at the NFC side of things, and it's like Baker Mayfield on his 4th team. Maybe a comeback player of the year candidate. Jared Goff, guy who the Rams didn't want anymore. Went to a Super Bowl, but the Rams thought they couldn't win with him. Here he is with Detroit. Brock Purdy came on the scene last year. Won a couple playoff games. Was talked about as an MVP candidate this year too. Put up some really good numbers. But again, it's that whole system quarterback. Is he a system quarterback? And then Jordan Love, people who didn't know what to expect from him. I don't know. You look at those quarterbacks from each division, each conference, got some weird storylines over there. All right, let's take a quick break. We got a few receiver defer, so thank you to all of you who have sent over some receiver defer questions here. If you got any last second ones, hit me up with that Shoe Doctors with that text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Thank you to all of you who have sent some over. We'll get to that after we take this quick break. And then don't forget, you got any outdoor questions? G-Man even has an outdoor question for Mr. Jake Bolks. We'll get to that coming up at about 8:30. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Instead of making some new goals in the new year for yourself and setting yourself up for disappointment because, hey, you won't stick with them. You're not the only one. How about setting a goal for your home? Whenever we begin a new year, we always try to come up with those goals to better ourselves. But for 2024, let's better our homes as well. And that starts with updating the flooring in your home with Wisconsin's premier flooring store, Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. I'm willing to bet that some of you listening right now can think of at least a space or more where you don't even remember the last time that floor was updated. And just think about all the wear and tear and maybe all those spills that those floors have gone through over the years. What's just kind of under that carpet? Yeah, yuck. It's time. Time to upgrade your floors and improve your home. From vinyl planks, tile, carpet, and more, Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire has all the different options you could hope for in the flooring business. And they will match or beat that competition if you happen to find a better deal elsewhere. Top it all off, they easily have the best team to work with in the area. So this year, better yourself and your home with a new floor from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. That a boy, Surveyor Sam, coming through the clutch. Spencer and Eau Claire, if you're listening, we've got Surveyor Sam here with a text. He's finally back to doing his job, and he's kind of our unofficially official, our research department here. Surveyor saying, okay, so I couldn't completely nail down the drops, but according to fantasypros.com, with tight ends and wide receivers, at least from week 1 to week 18, it went 0 0 2 0 2 0 1 2 2 2 1 2 1 2 0 1 3 0. Interesting. Now I know they always kind of rate drops differently. Like what sometimes we think is a drop, they don't count as a drop. It's not necessarily the playground, backyard, schoolyard thing. Oh, hands on it, it's got to be a catch. If you put your hand on it, you got to catch it. I know they don't usually do that, but interesting. All right, big thanks, Sam, Surveyor Sam, over there. Let's go back to the one question. It said receiver defer if Aaron Jones runs for over 100 yards. The Pack win on Saturday. I'll defer it. I don't necessarily think it because I'm assuming you're asking if Aaron Jones rushes for over 100 yards. It's that stat that always kind of comes up when we're watching games. Like Packers are throwing out numbers here, 20-0 whenever they have a running back that's over 100 yards rushing. I'm assuming that's kind of what you're referring to over there. I'll defer that. I don't think just because Aaron Jones rushes for over 100 yards that means Green Bay is going to win this game. I think he can still rush for over 100 yards, but maybe we still potentially lose this game. So I'll defer that slightly though. But if he does get over 100 yards, that greatly improves their shot, their chances at winning this ball game on Saturday. Receive or defer. God, you guys got a lot of pick'ems in this one. Receiver defer. Jordan Love's going to throw multiple picks in this game on Saturday. I'm going to defer that. He's been doing really good at taking care of the football. I think that'll continue. Now, the weather maybe plays a factor into it. I know the whole talk has been like, is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain? Is it going to affect somebody like Brock Purdy? That seems to be a talking point over there. I mean, maybe a little bit there, but I mean, he's just been doing a really good job at taking care of the football. I feel like he's going to have to throw it a little bit more this week. Maybe a pick, but I'll defer the multiple picks. Just because he's been playing really, really good as of late. Receive or defer. The Bucs should trade Bobby Portis to improve, get some improvement on their defensive, on the defensive perimeter side. No, I'll defer that. I don't think they should trade Bobby Portis. I feel like if you trade Bobby Portis, you take a lot of that energy out of this team, and definitely a fan favorite. No question about it. He's easily fan favorite. And I think he provides a nice spark coming off the bench. He's one of their more consistent bench players. They're six man. So I deferred. I don't want to see the team trade Bobby Portis to get some perimeter defensive help. Now, Pat, maybe. I know he's a fan favorite too, but it's about winning ball games at this point. So, again, I think if they trade any of these players that they have, they may have to add some of their very limited draft picks on there to kind of sweeten that pot for some of these picks. Receiver defer. Receiver defer. Matt LaFleur decides to receive. Nice. I see what you did there. Why not? If Green Bay wins that coin toss, why not? Why not receive it? Go down there, set the tone right away. I think you have to. I think you have to have a similar mindset to what you had in that Dallas game on the offensive side. You know, Dallas, statistically, one of the best offenses in the regular season this year. 49ers, in my opinion, are the most balanced offense in the NFL. Top 5 passing, top 5 rushing. I think offensively, you got to have that same mindset of being aggressive. So, yeah, if you win that toss, why not? Take the ball and we're going to score. Have the Matt Hasselbeck philosophy. Going to be a loud environment again, like it was in Dallas. You know, 49ers throwing out their defense, trying to set the tone right away, trying to stop them right away. But I think in a game like this, you want to give your offense more possessions, extra possessions. So if you can go out there and get that ball right away, I mean, the best outcome, again, was what happened in Dallas. That completely set the tone for the whole game. Going down there for nearly 8 minutes, 75-yard drive, and you get a touchdown. That just set the tone early on. Gave immense confidence to that offense. You know, one of the things I was kind of curious about, if we rewind it to last week, was like, okay, how are those scripted plays going to go with Matt LaFleur? He's got a young offense. He's got an inexperienced offense. First playoff game for a lot of these guys, right? Even the second-year guys. First playoff game in that environment. How would he call those plays? Would he call plays to maybe kind of calm the emotions, kind of calm things down, give them some easy stuff to maybe gain a little bit of confidence? Dude was aggressive. And I think you have to have that same mindset in this game. You can't play it safe offensively and defensively. They got to lose right now. Again, pressure's on the 49ers. They're the Super Bowl favorites, one of the Super Bowl favorites, top 2, depending on which line service you're looking at. So, yeah, why not? Win the toss, take the ball, and go score. Put them in a hole early. I do think the one thing, though, with Kyle Shanahan as a play caller on the offensive side, he's not necessarily say for some reason Green Bay jumps out to a 2-touchdown lead early on. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's going to be the guy that's like, okay, we kind of have to maybe abandon the run here a little bit, play a little catch up. I don't think he's going to do that. Could be wrong, but I don't. When you got McCaffrey in that, I think he'd be a little bit more patient in that aspect. But receive or defer. Receive or defer. The Packers are going to hold Christian McCaffrey to under 100 yards rushing in this game. That's a tough one. Again, a lot of these picks and predicts and for receiver defer. You got the running back with the most rushing yards in the league this year. You got a defense that has been consistently struggled to consistently stop the run. I don't think they're going to hold them to under 100 yards. I don't think they're going to do it. I'm going to have to defer that one. Got a lot more defers than receives here. Receiver defer. Dan, I've got a question. Man cave related. Okay. Man cave related. Receive or defer. Receiver defer to have a proper man cave. Okay, to have a proper man cave down here, you have to have a proper name for your man cave. Okay. Interesting. Why not? Kind of an odd question to throw out there, but hey, why not? Receive it? Sure. Why not? Who cares if you name it or not? Somebody giving you a hard time or something? If you want to name it, go ahead and name it. Why not? Go ahead and do that. I don't think we necessarily have one for ours. We just call it Casper Cave. So I know some people do, but yeah, go ahead if you want to. If you think, yeah, sure, why not? Receive or defer. We got two more here. We'll just do two more here. Big thanks to for everybody who sent those on over. Receive or defer. I was waiting for receive or defer. We had a different text come in. Joe Barry saves his job if he holds the 49ers to under 20 points in this game. I know this has been such a talking point for a lot of people out there. It has. I get it. I understand it. It's an easy talking point. It's something that I think everybody's kind of wondering about going forward. If he holds the 49ers offense, if the Packers defense holds them to under 20 points and they win this game, I'll still say defer. I'll still say defer. Um, for various reasons. I think it'll be closer. I think it'll be a little bit of a more difficult decision. And remember, we've seen teams. Green Bay was one of them who have moved on from their defensive coordinator even after a championship game, NFC championship game. So I don't think holding the 49ers to just under 20 points would save the Packers from re-signing Joe Barry, let's say, because his contract does expire if we want to put it in a little bit more of a proper term out there. I don't. No, I don't. It'd be similar to, I think, when Mike Pettin left after the Tampa Bay NFC championship game. His contract expired and they just didn't bring him back. All right, last one here. Receive or defer. Packers related. Again, no big surprise, but receive or defer. We will have a 100-yard receiver in this game going up against that 49ers secondary. Defer. Now that we Packers have won games without having a 100-yard receiver. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult, more difficult. I don't think we're going to have as many open receivers as we did in that Dallas game for whatever reason. So I'll defer it. I'll defer. I don't think Green Bay will have a 100-yard receiver. So, all right. Big thanks, everybody, for sending over your receive or defer questions. Well, let's do this again next week. All right, next Thursday. All right. Shot clock there. Coming up next hour, we'll get back to some more Green and Gold chat. Also, outdoor tidbits. Jake Bolks, last call for any outdoor questions for our game warden buddy. Plus, more Bucks chat. The question I threw out there: do you think the Bucks need to be aggressive at the trade deadline? One ESPN writer thinks they will be. Can they be, though? All right, third and final hour kicking off on this Thursday morning. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Coming up this hour, we're going to be catching up with our outdoor warden, Mr. Jake Bolks. If you got, again, last call right now for any questions for him, please send those on over to the texting line. We'll get those to Jake so he can answer them for you. So we'll catch up with him in about 25 minutes or so. We're going to talk some more hoops. Bucks falling last night. It was ugly from start to finish. Falling to the Cleveland Cavaliers, 135 to 95. No Giannis in the game last night. He was a late scratch from the lineup, dealing with a shoulder issue, they're calling it, shoulder contusion. So, does the game go differently with Giannis in the lineup? Perhaps, maybe. But no really long-term stuff. Adrian Griffin said before the game, from what I've been told, he went through shoot around, and then prior to the game tonight, he just felt that he couldn't go. So we're just being smart. And I don't believe it's going to be multiple games. It'll just be day to day for now. Maybe we'll find out some more news either today or tomorrow. Bucks don't play again until Saturday against Detroit. Next couple games against Detroit, I guess. Maybe they keep them out for those two games. I mean, the Detroit team's not good, but at the same time, do you really want to lose to Detroit? They got two big games coming up next week against Cleveland, all back in Milwaukee. But trade deadline under a month away now. More talk about should the Bucks make any moves? Can they even make any moves? Some talk that, could they be one of the quiet, aggressive teams out there? February 8th is that trade deadline. So February 8th, that's a Thursday. Again, I feel like John Horst is going to try to manipulate this thing and try to get a trade because his history proves that he has done that before. But he's also kind of running out of stuff that he can use for trade bait, using trades. So wouldn't be surprised if he does get something worked out. I think it'll be minor. Perimeter defensive help, if I had to rank him, is number one for me at this point in time. I don't think they need much more for offense. I think they just need a little bit more help on the defensive side on that perimeter. So, but I'm sure there's going to be more rumors kind of, when we get a little bit closer, maybe even starting next week or the week after, going to be some more rumors popping up. Could we see some moves? I know Pascal Siakam getting traded to Indiana. Does that move the needle a little bit more? Indiana's the bugaboo for the Bucks. Now the Bucks seeing that, does that get them a little bit more anxious? Like saying, hey, boy, man, we got to make another move here. We see that sometimes. Do they need to make a counter move? Knowing that they're 4 games out from first place against Boston, too, in the standings. Minnesota, though, holding on to that number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They picked up a win against those Detroit Pistons last night, 124 to 117. So still holding on to the top spot in the West. Minnesota, if you're kind of taking a look, they've got the Grizzlies coming up tonight. Tonight. So back-to-back action against the Grizzlies. Football-wise, the main story out there is the Dallas Cowboys. Late last night, it was announced that Mike McCarthy going to be sticking around. Mike McCarthy going to be sticking around. Maybe surprising a lot of people. I think when you look at it, though, Jerry Jones, he gets this, I guess, tag on him that he's quick trigger firing and all that. And really, when you kind of look at the history, it's not very much. But I understand the talk after this one. I understand why people thought about Cowboys making a move. You had a couple things here. Early postseason exit. It was ugly. It was very ugly against the Packers. You have a guy like Bill Belichick out there available. Does that make it so he's you know, maybe going to be a little bit of a quick trigger figure or a quick trigger to move on from McCarthy and bring in a guy like Bill Belichick. And who knows, maybe did some back channel communicating with good old Billy. Found out maybe it wasn't going to be a match, so they're just sticking with Big Mac, Big Mike over there. Who knows? But that's the talking one all across the sports world right now. Now I think the question is it just Atlanta in the Bill Belichick sweepstakes? Is it just that team in it? Who else could pop up? I know maybe now where everybody's kind of waiting on Philadelphia. Is Philadelphia going to make a move? And then if that opens up, is that another spot? But other than that, you're seeing teams report their interviews and that, but kind of quiet. Other than the Patriots already hiring their guy, so I don't know. Maybe we won't see Bill coaching on the sidelines this year. Maybe we won't. Packers will have a little bit more of a normal practice today. They kind of had a little bit of a walkthrough practice yesterday, um, more so than what they. I mean, Tuesday's practice was they said kind of a walkthrough. Yesterday did a little bit more, but they were in sneakers and indoors and everything. Matt LaFleur saying they're going to do a little bit more today, and they're hopeful that Jair Alexander will be able to give it a go. But both Matt LaFleur and Joe Barry yesterday said that they're optimistic that Jair is going to be able to go. Joe Barry even saying that he's a little bit further ahead than he was last week. So, given that he did play against Dallas, you got to feel confident that Jair is going to be ready to go coming up on Saturday against the 49ers. Looking at some of the comments from some other players from yesterday, and because it was a media day for a lot of these players and going to talking to the media and such. And I'm going to get to a couple of Matt LaFleur questions here too. But Ryan Wood asked Elton Jenkins this: how different it feels for the Packers to be the underdog for a rare time in his career, and that's honestly something I had never even really kind of thought about. And I know this is a very, it's a younger team, it's an inexperienced team, and some of these guys haven't been in the postseason before. But guys like an Elton Jenkins or an Aaron Jones or maybe a Jair Alexander and that sort of stuff. They've always kind of been the on a team more times than not that kind of had a target on their back. Jair, he started off his career missing the postseason, but as soon as Matt LaFleur got in there and a couple NFC championship games and that sort of stuff. So it has been a little bit of a maybe transition for these guys. But Elton said the analogy we've been using is basically playing with house money. When you're the number one seed, the number two seed, it's a difference. So we've been using this analogy. We've been saying it's house money. Sounds like the players and the coaching staff are also kind of using that same analogy. Matt LaFleur yesterday, when asked about Anders Carlson, a very kind of, I guess, would you say, uh, sore spot for some Packers fans right now, because I think we're all nervous every time he goes out there to make a kick. But Matt LaFleur, when he was asked about the confidence in Anders Carlson, says we're committed to him. One thing you cannot coach is the resiliency he has shown. Every time he's missed one, he's come back and made them. Rich Bisaccia yesterday also saying, I mean, he kind of deflected it. He said, if you got any question about the 49ers and that sort of stuff. But again, probably not too surprising over there. They're going to stick with him throughout that thing. But I'll be interested when it gets to the offseason if they do bring in a veteran for competition in camp and preseason. They didn't do it this year as a rookie, but considering some of the ups and downs he's had and the yips that he's had, do they do that in the offseason and preseason now entering a second year just to maybe kind of play it safe. I don't know. I don't know yet. But got a text here too. Do you think that they're going to match up Jair Alexander on Debo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk for the majority of the game? Uh, I mean, honestly, I don't think they're going to do the shadow game in this game. Thanks for the text, Ben. I don't think they're going to do the shadow thing with Jair, whether it's going to be Brandon Ayuk or Debo Samuel. I mean, more times than not, they don't. I mean, it's clearly evident in some games. Jair will be matched up with a guy more times than not. I think ever since that Justin Jefferson debacle from last year, they've kind of adjusted it a little bit. But I just I wouldn't count on Jair shadowing one person throughout the entire game. I don't see that happening. Maybe the better question is if you could pick somebody for Jair to shadow, who would it be? Would you go Debo or would you go Brandon Ayuk? Brandon Ayuk's got over 1,300 yards receiving. Debo's a little bit more physical, so maybe you'd want Jair if he's got still dealing with an ankle or shoulder injury. Maybe you want him a little bit more on Brandon. I don't know, but no, I wouldn't expect anything shadow wise. I wouldn't expect that. I just want to see defensively in this game, my personal opinion and my humble opinion. I think you got to come out and be aggressive. And I know that's a risk going up against an offense like San Francisco, the most complete offense in the entire league, top 5 passing, top 5 rushing, 1,000-yard receiving tight end, 1,000-yard receiver, 1,000-yard rusher, 4,000-yard quarterback. But I feel like you've got to get your corners up there, try to get them off their marks, try to disrupt the timing, be physical. I know we're saying this, and probably some people are saying, yeah, where was that all year long? And you'd be right. I'd agree with that. I would like to have seen it more times than not this year, too. But I mean, you're in a one and done situation. You don't got next week. You don't have another game right now on the schedule unless you win. So I feel like the risk is worth the reward at the end. I feel like you've got to get in there and get them off their marks, disrupt the timing with the wide receivers, be a little physical with George Kittle coming off the line of scrimmage. Maybe put a big body on him like a linebacker to give him a little bit of a nudge. Then you pick him up with a safety or something like that. I think you got to get physical with these guys. I think the big question for me is can this Packers defense bring the physicality? Can they do that? And I think, if you're going to get physical with those wide receivers, you better be able to get after the quarterback. Now, I know Devontae Wyatt, you got some people kind of saying, oh boy, we've got bulletin board material for the 49ers. And maybe not the brightest thing to say. I mean, I think some of the 49ers peeps are probably going to use this. They're probably going to use it. But Devontae Wyatt went out there and said that I'll bring up the quote here so I get it right. Devontae Wyatt on Brock Purdy. When defensive linemen just get pressure into him, he's always thrown off, or it's behind them, or it's overthrown, or short. When you get pressure on him, it's a guarantee that we'll get a turnover. And that was from Matt Schneidman, who also covers the Packers. For what it's worth, as Matt Schneidman also posted, Brock Purdy led the NFL this season in passer rating when pressured. So Devontae's not exactly right in that essence. But I think we all want to know too, like, if you bring that pressure, I think we want to be able to get that pocket collapse. We want to make Brock Purdy uncomfortable back there. We'd rather have him uncomfortable back there, trying to bring that pressure and not having him get 4, gosh forbid, 5 seconds back there to let his weapons get open. I think that's what Devontae was trying to get after, trying to relay out there. Like, we got to get after him and not allow him to have. I mean, the best answer would have been probably, hey, we got to get after him and get some constant pressure on him, not allow him to, pick apart our defense, not put a ton of pressure on our secondary, not allow, he's got some great weapons, not allow them to, run around and get open. We got to make things a little bit easier on our secondary. We got to help out our secondary. That's probably the best way for Devontae Wyatt to answer that question, not to go out there and say, "Yeah, we do this. He's always done this. He throws." Got to play kind of the political game in some of these answers because some of these players will use anything and everything to try to get some bulletin board material over there, right? But I'd rather have pressure on Parade. He may be the best under pressure this year, but that's where I think it's got to be that cohesiveness on the defensive side. Okay, if you're going to get pressure on him, don't let those receivers get free releases then. Don't let him come off the line of scrimmage easy. So all right, he can sense that pressure's coming right out there. Quick pass. Tom Brady made a career out of that. Tom Brady made a career out of getting the ball out quick. His weakness was, if you could get it, bringing pressure up the middle. Don't let Purdy get the ball out quick. Get those corners up there a little bit. Bring that constant pressure. Make it help. Also try to confuse him a little bit. If you can. Be tough, but see if you can. This question in here, were you surprised that Wilson got more snaps at the backup running back than Patrick Taylor? I don't know. I mean, it was clearly evident that Aaron Jones was the bell cow and should have been the bell cow. I think it does. If A.J. Dillon's healthy and he's in that game, does he get more reps to kind of give A.J. Jones a breather? Maybe. But it's, in my opinion, it's clearly, even if A.J. Dillon, I don't think he plays in this game, but say he does play in this game, you still got to give Aaron Jones at least 20 carries. Got it. You still have to feature Aaron Jones. He is your guy. He is your horse. He is your bell cow. Even if A.J. Dillon comes back, you still have to get Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon, I mean, there was time in that Dallas game, probably could have been very, would have been a nice welcome for that fourth quarter. Wearing down that defense, those tough runs, those physical runs and such. You got to somehow get Aaron Jones the ball 20 times. But having, success running the football, not just to run the football and you're gaining negative yards and, maybe a 1 yarder here. You got to find ways to be successful in running the football too. Not just to hand it off. But I think they got to stick with that plan, with what they've been working, that balanced attack. But Matt LaFleur just, again, kind of staying a step ahead of the opposing defensive coordinator. That's why I think jumping out to that early lead is huge in terms of how he calls the game too. Staying a step ahead, not chasing. Whoever gets that first step ahead, I think, is got a big time advantage in this one. All right, we've got Jake, so we've got plenty of questions for Jake here. We're going to get to him here in just a few minutes. So big thanks to everybody who sent over some questions. I'll get those over to Jake right now. Quick reminder, don't forget, we've got some new picks for the postseason up on our website, sportstalk1051.com. If you go to our website, quick little house cleaning here a little bit. It doesn't say win. That tab doesn't say win on there anymore, okay? It says Fan Cave. Kind of doing something a little bit different over there. Same thing. That's where you go to make your picks, though. So we've got the picks over there. But if you check it out, we got some new things over there, including we want to feature some of you, okay? We got Fan of the Month. fan of the month. We want to start that next month here, but we need some submissions. So if you got a photo, whether it's yourself, maybe a kiddo, all right, donning some of their favorite team gear, or maybe you got a sweet man cave, or somebody's got an awesome like card collection. They're just a diehard Aaron Jones card collector or something like that. We want to brag about you. Okay. So just head to our website, 715, or excuse me, sportstalk1051.com. Click on that fan cave tab. Upload your pics there. Other stuff over there. We're going to be posting some events. You got an event that you think we should post up on there? Let us know. Okay. Other cool stuff there. Where should we take the show on the road? Where should we take the podcast on the road? We're taking your suggestions over there. We got the Carpet City Flooring Center local spotlight as well on there. But essentially, we've got we're kind of launching this fan cave, the 715 fan cave, because we want to represent the awesome sports fans of the 715 area code. You know what I mean? You know, in our portion of the state here, Western Wisconsin, Northwestern, however you want to describe it, yeah, we may be a little further away from Green Bay and Madison and Milwaukee and such, but that doesn't mean we're not as passionate. We're not as diehard about our sports teams, and we got some really great local sports over here too. So we're gonna create perhaps the state's biggest fan cave out there, the 715 fan cave, but we need you over there too. So check it out. We got some more stuff coming, but just in case anybody's going to the website and I can't find the win tab over there. How do I make my picks? Just it's renamed. Scroll through the bottom there. You'll be able to see it over there. Easy peasy. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll get Jake on here. He hasn't texted me back yet, so hopefully he's ready to go here in just a little bit. So we'll get to those questions. Again, big thanks for everybody for sending those on over. Take that first break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes for a little outdoor tidbits. Looking for that caffeine kick to get you going each morning and throughout your day? Well, that's easy because you're looking for Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Whether you are in the mood for coffee, tea, or an iced energy drink, Cabin Coffee has something to help you get going in the mornings and throughout your days. Cabin Coffee also has a breakfast and lunch menu with a wide range of options for you to choose from to help keep you going throughout your day. Don't settle for low quality drinks and food to fill your energy void. Go for the fresh and the high quality stuff at Cabin Coffee because you and your taste buds deserve it, man. Waiting for Jake to join us here in just a little bit. If it happens where he's not able just because work wise and stuff, for those of you who have texted me questions, I will individually text you the answers from Jake. All right. So if we can't get Jake on here, I think he's busy right now working with the job and such. So if we don't get him on before 9 a.m. here, I will text you individually what Jake had to say. All right. So we'll wait for Jake here for a little bit, hopefully not too long here. But nonetheless, we got a couple more texts to get to here from some listeners out there. Bucks wise, I hope the Bucks are a little bit more aggressive at the trade deadline. This is from Greg. Greg going on to say, I know that they don't have a whole lot of stuff that they can trade, and the NBA trade rules are kind of difficult to follow along. But I think if the Bucks have championship aspirations this year, they've got to make moves that will take them above Boston. I don't think they would beat Boston in a series right now. In fact, I think they would lose to a team like Indiana if they were to face them in the first or second round of the postseason. Who has a better shot to get to the NBA Finals? Here's another like receiver defer one, I guess. But who has a better shot to get to the NBA Finals right now? Bucks or the T Wolves? Hmm. Um. Boy, that's a good one. We pay so much attention to the Bucks and hyper focused on them. We know like Boston, could give them fits. Indiana, kind of that kryptonite to them right now. Maybe it is the T Wolves. Maybe it is the T Wolves right now who are sitting there in that one spot in the Western Conference, playing some good hoops. I mean, if you just do a little box score scouting, I guess I mean, both have. I guess Timberwolves are 29-11, Bucks 28-13. Yeah, maybe it is the. Maybe it is Wolves. Wolves are averaging 113.4 points per game. But I mean, Milwaukee again. Offense really isn't their issue. They got 124.2, but opponents' points per game, buck 20 for the Bucks. Timberwolves 107.6. The Timberwolves are allowing the least amount of points per game. Least amount of points per game, 107.6. Then you look at the Eastern Conference. You've got a few teams here who are just giving up 110. Cleveland, one of them. Cleveland right now, Eastern Conference wise, the best in terms of opponents' points per game. Miami's right behind them. So Cleveland's at 110.3. Obviously, that helped last night by only allowing 95 to the Bucks. Miami 110.9. New York also 110.9. But here's the thing: Boston's 110.9 too. So not only is Boston averaging 120.9 points per game, they're giving up 10 fewer per game too. That's what's making them so tough to beat. And they're still undefeated at home. Boston is 20-0 at home. 20-0 at home. When this season is done, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to revisit that Damian Lillard trade and the effects it had on Boston, being able to acquire Drew Holiday. People are going to look at that. People are going to break that down. Come to their opinions, come to their conclusions and such. And when you look at Drew Holiday, I mean, numbers wise, 13.3 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, 4.6 assists per game. And you kind of look at, career wise, a little bit lower in the points, a little bit lower in the assists. about same minutes wise. But I think what's benefiting Drew Holiday from playing on a team like Boston right now is the fact that when he was with Milwaukee, sometimes he had to be the number 2 guy, right? He had to be that number 2 scoring option. He had to be the number 2 offensive option, whether because Middleton was out dealing with an injury or Middleton was just cold. And there was a couple times last year, when both Giannis and Middleton were out, it was Drew Brees. See, football in the mind. Drew Holiday was the offensive guy. And a couple times he came through, right? Those 50-point games. Remember that? But I think now he's in a situation where he's like, okay, Tatum's the number 1. Then you got Brown over there. Once in a while, Porzingis, will step up. He's a role player, and he's a pretty darn good role player. Pretty darn good role player. And, I mean, he's still capable of dropping over 20 points. Just the other night against the Spurs, 22 points. It's a deep team. It's a really good team. Heck, you even get Minder, Sam Hauser's over there too. Sam Hauser, Stevens Point native. Guy's averaging about 20 minutes a game this year coming off the bench. 8.4 points per game. Another text here surrounding the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think they're going to make any moves this year. They just don't have the ability to make any trades considering the salary cap and the trade chips that they do have on their team. It'll definitely be disappointing if they can't get to at least the Eastern Conference. A lot of season yet to be played here. Hopefully, they just pick up their momentum as they go into the playoffs. That's what you're hoping, right? You're hoping that once they get into March, April, they're playing some of their best basketball. They're playing their best basketball of the season, and you ride that momentum into the postseason. It's a different It's a different feel. It's a different type. I mean, how many times did we see teams like Spurs, the Rockets did it against my Magic? Go through the regular season, they're maybe middle in the standings, but postseason, boom. And it's not to say that's the one way to do things, but you hope that they finally start to get that momentum and again, they've gone in waves this year, right? They've gone in their winning streaks. But hopefully, I think when we say momentum, hopefully they've kind of got their defensive issues figured out before the postseason. And they're in a groove. Kind of like what Green Bay is right now. They're riding that momentum. They're riding that wave to the postseason and hopefully for a deep postseason run. But if the playoffs, where would, okay, so Indiana right now would be in the play-in. Just trying to see if there was they'd still, wow, they'd be in the play-in there at 7, but they would play Milwaukee, assuming it would go chalk. If they get the 7th seed and Milwaukee's the 2, Milwaukee and Indiana in the first round. Ugh, yuck. Ugh, we don't want to see that. All right, let's take a quick break. Get to some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. Again, if we don't get to Jake here, I will text you guys back who all sent over questions. Once I hear back from him, I will text you the answers. All right, we'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, let's wrap some things up here this morning. Let's get to some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. Looking for somewhere to catch the game, perhaps Saturday nights. How about this? Elbow Room's gonna have some drink specials and free shots for every person in the bar for every Green Bay touchdown. With the way their offense has been humming along right now and rolling, might be a good night over there at the Elbow Room. It's always a good night over there at the Elbow Room. But again, if you're looking for somewhere to catch the game, whether maybe you're a San Francisco or Green Bay fan, got some swag up for San Francisco over there. Got some swag up for Green Bay in there too. If you haven't checked it out, it's like going into a man cave there. But again, drink specials for the game and free shots for every person in the bar for every Green Bay touchdown. That's the Elbow Room. Elbow Room over there by Banbury Place here in Eau Claire. And don't forget to get your picks in, our picks and predicts in at our website for those postseason games brought to you by the Elbow Room. We're going to mix it up here a little bit. We're going to throw in some NHL games, NBA games, and one college hoops game. We'll start off with college. Illinois taking on Michigan. Number 14, Illinois taking on 7-10 Michigan. A lot of talk about Michigan this year, and could Juwan Howard be on the outs with he's had some other issues kind of going on there too, but Michigan not playing good this year. Illinois 2.5. Illinois wins, and I think they easily cover in this game. I think Illinois, I'm surprised it's 2.5. I know it's in Michigan and such, but I think Illinois wins, and I think they cover this game. I mean, Michigan was, before that win against Ohio State, it was pretty bad. So let's go to the NHL world. It's been a little bit since we picked some NHL games on here. Let's go with Colorado and Boston, shall we? Colorado and Boston. We're going to do a few NHL games, actually. Then Boston. Boston's 13-3-3 at home. Give me the Bruins. I'm going to go with the Bruins on that one. Minnesota versus Tampa Bay. I'm going Tampa Bay in this one. Sorry, Wild fans. Dallas, Philly. Got interesting matchup here between the Stars and Flyers. The Stars 12-4-3 on the road. Philly's 10-8-2 at home. Yeah, give me the Stars. Give me the Dallas Stars in this one. Let's go Chicago, Buffalo. Buffalo. We'll just go with Buffalo. The Blues versus the Capitals. I'll go with the Capitals in that one. It's at home. The Blues have struggled on the road, 8-11-1 so far this year. Let's go with my Kraken taking on Edmonton. Sorry, I can't go with my Kraken. I want to pick my Kraken, but we're going to go with Edmonton on this one. And then let's do the Rangers taking on the Golden Knights of Vegas. This one is in Vegas, so give it to me. I'll go with Vegas. They're 16-5-2 on the road this year. Let's do some NBA games here. So we've got Memphis at Minnesota. Minnesota's going to win that one. Give me Minnesota that one. That's at home. Minnesota. Yep. I'll take the T-Wolves. The Thunder visiting the Jazz. Jazz have, and the reason I bring this up, because so the Jazz are 22-20, but they're 15-5 at home. Now the Thunder are 27-13, one of the best in the West. Yeah, I'll go. I'm still going to go with the Thunder in that one. Give me the Thunder, and I think they cover. Indiana at Sacramento. Sacramento favored by a whopping 7.5. Oof. Sacramento wins, but they don't cover. They won't cover that game. All right, those are your picks and predicts. Again, brought to you by the Elbow Room. Again, if you're looking for somewhere to maybe catch the game, they've got some drink specials for the game, and they are going to be doing some free shots for every person in the bar for every Green Bay touchdown over there. Let's wrap some things up here. Again, when I hear back from Jake, for those of you who texted in questions for Jake, one, big thanks. Two, I will text you back the answers that we get. Okay, I'll make sure to reach back out to you. That way you know those answers to your questions. So big thanks to everybody who sent those on over. big thanks everybody too for the receiver defer question. We had a lot of texts this morning, so if I didn't get to them, my bad. I didn't get to it. I apologize. We just had a lot of you texting in. So, hey, I love hearing from you. So keep those coming every day. All right, every day. Hit us up with those texts, Facebook messages, tweets, video stream, you name it, you roll it, or you name it, whatever works best for you. So big thanks to everybody who did that. Coming up tomorrow, I think you all know what we're going to be doing. It's another Football Friday playoff edition. Breaking it down now. Key matchups, keys to victory. Packers, 49ers. What do you got? What do you got? Okay, what do you think are the biggest key matchups? Think about it for a little bit. That's your homework assignment. And your keys to victory. Our typical Football Friday. We'll get to that tomorrow. Plus your predictions. I know a lot of you probably going to be rolling with Green Bay, but be honest with your picks too, okay? Be honest. It's okay. It's okay. So we'll hit that all up tomorrow. We'll catch up with Brandon Berg. We'll catch up on some of the local stuff out there too, prep wise, college wise. Should be catching up with Dr. Crow for a little inside the training room. We'll catch up with him, and also too with the picks. We're gonna hit up all the postseason games for the weekend, but we'll hit those up. Definitely the game that's getting the most attention is probably Buffalo and Kansas City because of the history between the two and Allen and Patrick Mahomes and some of their iconic matchups throughout the last couple of years. Hopefully it lives up to the hype over there too. But I just hope Buffalo has all their defensive players that can go like Rasul Douglas able in the game. I want to see it teams at full strength or as near to full strength as possible to make it a little bit better, make it a little bit more interesting. You know what I mean? So, but we'll hit that up. You can hit us up with the text tomorrow. Hold on to your keys to victory. Hold on to your matchups and all that stuff for tomorrow, so I can have it up right away, ready to go for there. So that's your homework assignment for tonight. Think about that. Let us know. What else do we got on the docket? We'll talk some hoops too as we hopefully know a little bit more about Giannis and his injury. Hopefully it's nothing too long where he's going to be out missing some time. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he misses these next couple games against Detroit just to get a little bit healthier and then getting ready for Cleveland after that. So, but maybe we'll get a little bit of an update after that. I think we're all looking forward to the practice report for Green Bay after today to see if Jair Alexander does something. That's the one we're all kind of paying attention to, right? Hopefully he does something. Hopefully he'll be ready to go come Saturday. If he's not, that's a big loss in that secondary for Green Bay. That's a big loss. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We'll get some good news today with that practice report. Also, don't forget, you can play along with us for Cream of the Crop. We'll hit that up. But if you want to play along with us, who or what is your cream of the crop? We want to get some of your picks on that. Brandon and I, we usually do that. We usually do that every Friday, but we want you to tag along, okay? So think about that too. Who would you give if we were to make a Macho Man Randy Savage award holding those little creamers, the cream of the crop? Who would you give it to? All right. Saw this nugget here from Zach Cruz about the Packers receivers really quick before I get cut off here. Packers have 5 wide receivers who produced 90-plus receiving yards in a game this season. Packers are one of 2 teams that accomplished this. 5 wide receivers with 90-plus receiving yards in at least one game in 2023. You want to know who that second team is? Chargers. Interesting. Spreading the ball around, baby, right? Spreading that ball around, spreading that rock around. Chargers had 5, though. So the 5 Packers receivers, in case anybody's wondering: Romeo, Jaden, Christian, Wicks, Melton. Your top 5. Again, probably no surprise there. So, but again, we'll do the key matchups and keys to victory tomorrow over there. Man, it's starting to finally kick in for me for this game. I think that adrenaline and that just getting pumped up and geeked up for this game is starting to kick in for me a little bit. It really kicked in for me last Friday morning, getting ready. I'm like, okay, here we go now. It's starting to, I think, really kick it into gear for me today. And it's still kind of weird that we're still talking Packers getting ready for postseason games here, division round, man. I mean, if they win on Saturday, I don't know how Packers Nation is going to react. I don't know how I'm going to react. I've been seeing some people talk about that Cowboys win, or that win against the Cowboys the other day, being one of the best playoff wins in Packers history. Important wins, maybe. Would you agree with that? I think it was maybe in recent history. I don't know if I'd put it on an all-time list, but in terms of importance, I'd probably put it up there in like, I don't know, in the last 30 years or so. So, all right, shot clock's going to cut me off. Again, big thanks for everybody for tuning in. And for those of you who did send questions over for our outdoor tidbits, I will get you those answers whenever I hear back from Jake. So big thanks for sending those in. And a big thanks for everybody who texted, tweeted, Facebooked, all that good stuff this morning. Let's do it again tomorrow, though, okay? Bring your number 2 pencils. Bring your scouting reports. Give me the key matchups and the keys to victory for the Packers against the 49ers. What do the Packers have to do besides scoring more points? What do they got to do to leave California and shock the world again? What do they got to do to get that W? All right? Put your mind to work tonight, today. Make notes. Come to class prepared tomorrow. Let's get her done. Are you starting to get a little bit more jacked up? I'm getting more jacked up for this game, baby. All right. DP and the Danuts, they're up next. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow, just past 6 a.m. We'll talk to you then.